The member for Newcastle.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. And my question is to the Minister for Health. How is the Albanese Labor government delivering cheaper medicines, and how are life-changing drugs being made available to Australians?
Great question, Chair.
I give the call to the Minister for Health and Aged Care.
Well, thank you, Mr Speaker, and I thank the member for Newcastle for her question, because she was one of dozens of Labor candidates and members who promised at the last election to cut the price of medicines for millions of Australian patients. And, Mr Speaker, tonight we will deliver on that promise. Tonight's budget will deliver the largest ever cut to the price of medicines in the 75-year history of the Pharmaceutical Benefit Scheme, bringing the maximum co-payment for millions of general patients down from $42.50 to just $30 per script. For households that fill 2 or 3 scripts every month, and there are many of those, Mr Speaker, that will deliver a saving of as much as $300 or even $450 each and every year. It's not just good for their hip pocket at a time of enormous cost of living pressures. We know it's also good for their health, because almost 1 million Australians every year go without filling a script that their doctor has said is important for their health because they simply can't afford it. Pharmacists tell stories of their customers coming in with a handful of scripts, asking for advice about which script they can go without because they can't afford to fill them all. Well, our delivery of that promise tonight will make that choice redundant for millions of Australians. And on top of this responsible cost of living relief measure, we'll also continue listing life-saving, life-changing medicines onto the PBS. On the weekend, I announced 4 new listings of medicines like that. From next week, around 1,000 skin cancer patients will be able to access Libtayo at PBS prices rather than $144,000 per course of treatment. More than 500 lung cancer patients will access 2 new life-saving, life-changing medicines. But I was especially delighted, Mr Speaker, to be able to announce the listing of Crysvita, the first new treatment in decades for a rare but debilitating condition, X-linked hypophosphatemia, or XLH, which affects more than 200 Australians. I was joined at the announcement by Talia, who's 11, by Noah, who's 12, their families, and Sandy, the President of XLH Australia, an outstanding advocate for her community. Talia has had access to Crysvita on the Community Access Program, and it has completely changed her life. Her family told us about being able to witness her deliver the first 100-metre sprint at her school and how proud they were of that. Noah, who's 12, an avid Crows fan, hasn't had access on the Community Access Program, but for next week he will be able to access this medicine that will give him an enormously different life to what he was facing before this listing. The lives of those families and more than 200 will be profoundly changed by this listing at PBS prices rather than $360,000, which is what this medicine would have cost without the PBS.